Good morning. Welcome back. Wednesday, March 25th. We are a few days into uh, restrictions. More have come out over the night. Uh, More confining businesses and such are being closed, and we're finding this difficult, some of us, and the amount that will be allowed in stores and things like that, disconcerting. So we're having a little trouble with the website, not much. We're uploading stuff to it. It's not fully functional. It's functional to some extent, but there's more information that will be going up soon. You still can access Facebook and YouTube through that, and that's ubcmilo.us. Grateful for that today. I'm glad you're here with us. Been interesting days. These are very interesting days. I had the opportunity yesterday to take a walk out into the woods from behind the house, and it was interesting. There was a whole lot more snow out there than there was around my house, about 8 inches out there. I had a time to walk and be alone and talk to God for a while. And I wondered, did you get a chance yesterday to be alone with Him and converse with Him and begin to abide and listen to what He's saying in our days? It was a great time out there. Came back and began to study some more, and some crazy things are happening in our stores. It's been recorded that people are beginning to fight over things. One place had to call the police and have them come and remove people. It's happening more and more. People's bearings are amiss where they are. And I think that we're at this place in our society where things are being revealed about who we really are as a people, as a society. It's nothing like a little pressure to bring out what's inside people. When I was a young kid, oh boy, this is years ago, never really understood soap operas, but there was one called The Edge of Night. And I remember the intro to that, where this sweeping darkness would start coming upon a town, and there was foreboding music and the like that. Seems like that's what's happening with us today. Is there seems to be this overpowering presence that's pushing us. I remember as a kid, we as boys would go out and play in the fields and the woods and stuff, and we'd come along and we'd see this rock, and we'd all want to turn it over to see what was underneath it. And when the rock was turned over, all kinds of things would be there, creepy things, crawly things, and boy, you talk about scatter and about do crazy things. They run around bumping into each other, trying to find a safe place. I kind of think that that's kind of happening with us today in our society and in our towns. I think the light is being shown upon us and being shined down on us, and we're scurrying about because our consistencies are failing. Our safe havens are failing, and people are running around like that. It's troublesome. People are saying harsh words to each other. People are doing things towards each other and thinking things towards each other, and it is disturbing, but it's a revelation of who we are as people. This could go south on us, and that's a term that comes from I don't know where. When things look grim and stuff and they're hanging by a thread, people have often said this circumstance could go south. It may yet. But God's people being called upon in this day to stand up and exemplify and be allowed to bring forth the reality of Jesus to this world. And we're frequency, like I talked about yesterday, we're struggling ourselves with what this means. My mother had this term when we were kids that don't leave no stone unturned in your life. Don't leave anything unturned. Face things, deal with it, find out everything you can in our lives today as Christians. We've got some character traits that are troubling, and I want to talk to you about that today. As the stones are turned over in our lives, we're discovering the very static that we have in us that is keeping us from the fullness, from the equipping of God. And it's our position towards people who have not. It's our position as Christians and all that we believe, responding in a way that's, inappropriate, for most part, inappropriate. We think things about people because of the way they act. We look at people and judge. This is the time for us to forgive and offer forgiveness and mercy to those who are struggling so. We have to look at ourselves, though. God did something with me years ago, and I was a very unforgiving person. Oh, I hated people. I was bitter and resentful towards things and towards people and things that I thought they did or should have done and how it affected me. And I became very bitter in my soul. And the bitterness led to resentment, and resentment led to revenge, and revenge ultimately ends in death. God spoke to me one day and talked to me about not just what I thought someone had done to me, but what I had felt towards those people, because of what I thought they had done, and the bitterness that was in my heart, and resentment and things. We need to be very careful as Christians about being bitter towards people and resentful because of the way they act. God forgave us, and He imparted Himself, He imputed His righteousness to us, and through the power of His Spirit in our lives. And there's a cleansing coming. Throughout the course of history, there have been great trials and many worldwide events that have brought God's people to their knees. This is one of them. We need to be tuned. We need to find out what our emotions are saying to us. Am I bitter towards that person because they took something off a shelf that I couldn't get? Or do I resent people today for any reason because of their actions? If we do, there's a good chance that there's unforgiveness in our lives. We as Christians are being changed here in our time. We're being cleansed, we're purified. And I think that the overturning of the stone as the light bears down upon us and upon the world, we're seeing a lot of things. We're seeing the craziness of activity, but the light of Christ is shining on our hearts. And people, we need to be compassionate. We need to be forthcoming with the truth, for sure, but love and compassion need to be pouring out of us. And if there are infractions in our lives, it can't. If I have a preconceived notion about how somebody ought to live and how they ought to act and shoulda, coulda, wouldas, then we're kind of held at bay. God's light is shining on us in this day, and He wants to remove the static in our lives. A lot of it is at our own making. Like myself, I made myself resentful and bitter because of what I thought. But God's mercy came and showed me how to forgive. And I think we as people today in our country, the church is going to wake up. We are becoming what we needed to become, and sometimes a little push is not necessarily a bad thing. In Ephesians chapter 4, verse 32, it says this: "Be kind-hearted one to another, tender-hearted or compassionate, forgiving one another, even as God forgave us in Jesus Christ." Do you know that as a reality in your life today? It's not what people do. Jesus died for more than that. He died for what we are. And he wants to today to bring us as a church, into the fullness of redemption. What that really means. And certainly the circumstances around us are revealing our need. No doubt about that. I'm grateful for him today. I'm grateful for what he has done in my life and what he's doing in yours. I think today is an important day for us as we look forward. Would you ask God to reveal things in your life today that would enable you to become what we need in our society? God wants to move upon the land, and he's calling us, his people, certainly to be lights into the world. That's a good thing. That's a good thing. Don't be afraid of letting God change your life. He needs us right now and to be what he's wanted us to be all along. A number of years ago, I'm one that picks up on things in songs and stuff. And Glenn Campbell wrote a song years ago. It's called "Try a Little Kindness." It's interesting that he went through spells in his life where not much kindness was showed towards him. He made mistakes and he found himself in a position, but he wrote this. And it's interesting what it brings. "If you see your brother standing by the road with a heavy load from the seeds he's sowed, and if you see your sister falling by the way, just stop and say, 'Hey, you're going the wrong way.' And if you try a little kindness, then you would overlook the blindness of what's happening in people's lives." That's the gist of it, basically. Don't walk around the town, walk around the down and out. Lend a hand instead of doubt. And the kindness that you show every day will help someone along the way. It's an interesting song, but it comes from a cry of a person's heart, I think. They just needed a little kindness and a little love. And I think we as Christians have that for people. We have the compassion, mercy, and grace of God. And it needs to be pouring out in our day. Pray for the people that you see today. Pray for the people that you interact with. Pray that God would do in you the mighty work that of redemption, that as we walk forward in our day, the light of Christ is going to shine. And you and I are going to discover the great power that's at our disposal even now. These are good things today. Again, I'm reminded that of Billy Graham again. God's speaking to us. He's speaking to you and me, and he's speaking to those that have joined us this morning for the first time. This is about a purification of the church. This is about us becoming, being the need for the world today. Be mindful of yourself as you interact with people. Understand them and understand where they are and where they're coming from. Let the mercy and grace of Jesus shine upon your heart and let it transform you. Find that time alone with him today, would you? And embrace him for all that he is and all that he wants to be in your life. I'm grateful. I'm praying for you today. Let's pray a little bit, would you, with me as we face this day and seek him. Seek Jesus with all your heart. Father, thank you for your love for us today and the power of forgiveness. We don't necessarily understand everything people do. We don't understand it in the light of who you are. And we know that we are to become something. We are to be what you would have us to be in the light of that. Help us, Jesus, today to overcome anything in our life that would cause us to be unforgiving, and to hold up ourselves before you to be everything that you want to be in our lives. Thank you for the grace and mercy you showed us so many years ago on the cross, that now is coming to fulfillment in a lot of us, and we're grateful for that. Touch your people today. Touch those that are in need today, Jesus. May the power of your word become us in our day. Thank you for that, Jesus. I trust you have a good day. Seek him, find him, pray, and look for him to do wonderful things in your life, for he loves you. See you tomorrow.